Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om everyone. So just a dip check. Other than me, Sakuba, Gunds, and Subbu, who else is ready to present today? Uday. Okay. Okay. All right. So so we will do it like this. Since I have to log off a little earlier, let me take the first 15-20 minutes to present. I'm not presenting chapter 9 summary. I'm presenting quick summary of Durga Saptashati, and I'll connect it to some parts of Bhagavad Gita for sure in that particular thing. And then we'll hand it over to Sakuba. Sakuba and Subbu, Subbu, Sakuba, and then Uday and Gunds. Gunds, I put you in the last because I was not 100% sure whether you were joining in or not, right? Based on your message. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely no problem.
Raju, logistics-wise, I also have to log off at 7:15. So whoever is there, I'll just make them host.
Okay. So by I also will probably log by 7:15 off, but please make sure that you make somebody else as the host.
Yeah.
Okay. Rajesh, just want to check. I'm audible, right? Because my headphone is not working. So for some reason, I don't know why.
Audible. Yeah. Okay. Should we do the AI summary as well this time, like what we did last time?
Anyway, we're doing the summary of the whole thing, right? So I think it's fine.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to. Okay, let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So let me time myself. 6:08.
Rather, the screen is looking at us.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So because I'm working with just one screen today, and I don't have the luxury of seeing anybody, on the screen or whatever. So I'm just going to be talking to the screen here. So if there's anything, just don't even raise your hand. Just interrupt me and ask a question, because I don't have any faces on my screen. Okay. So so what I want to talk about today is I titled it as psychology and symbolism in Durga Saptashati. Okay. So what is Durga Saptashati and what is the connection? Why is it relevant? We will kind of talk about that. But quick, very, very bird's eye view of what Durga Saptashati is. So this is a book.
Since I joined, so I thought it's okay.
Someone is speaking. Can you go on this? Yeah. This is a book written on Durga. We've just come off Navaratri, and there are 700 mantras, and it's a mantra. Okay. And the difference between mantra and shloka, all of you are aware of it. Mantra is has a potent power in it, and mananat trayate mantra, that's what they say. So 700 mantras on Devi. Okay. And who is this Devi and all that? We will talk about that. And where does it come from? It comes from a Purana called Markandeya Purana. So you can see already the conflict. Okay, how can Puranas have mantras? Yeah, but it is a mantra. Okay, it is 700. It's a Purana, yet 700 mantras, and it's one mega mantra. So like Vishnu Sahasranama, where you have the 1,000 names of Vishnu, and if you look at it grammatically, it's actually one mega name of Vishnu. Like that, this 700 mantras on Devi is known as one mega mantra. So it's also known by different names in different parts in India. For example, in the East, it's called Chandi. So if somebody says that I'm reading Chandi, in the East, they're actually reading Devi Mahatmyam in the North or Durga Saptashati in the South. So that's the context. Okay. So now let's look at how Durga Saptashati is framed. Okay. So think of it in terms of concentric circles or squares or whatever, rectangles. Okay. At the top level, think about this as a story in Markandeya Purana, narrated by Markandeya Rishi. Maharshi. Okay. And within that story, he tells another sub-story. Okay. And in that sub-story, the person who tells the sub-story is a person called Medas Rishi. And he tells a story to two dejected wayfarers. Okay. So two people approach Medas Rishi, and Medas Rishi tells them a story. Okay. And within that story, there are 3 acts. And I want you to remember these acts. Okay. It's called Prathama, Madhyama, and Uttara. 3 acts. Okay. Let's call it as Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Although it's not the right name. Because in Sanskrit, we will never say Act 1, 2, 3. We'll always say Act 3, 2, 1. So Prathama Purusha is third person. So it's 3, 2, 1. Okay. So that's how it is. So,
Hey,
okay.
Gintax.
Yeah.
I raised my hand, but you may not have been able to see me. So,
Yeah.
Very quick question. The Prathama, Madhyama, and Uttara means beginning, middle, and end also, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Okay. Okay. So, what is this structure of the mantras and a quick summary of it, right? So if you take Devi Mahatmya 700 slokas, how does it split like? So I'll be, they will see two sides in my slide, the left and the right side. So I'll be kind of, switching between both this and the left and right. So just follow with me. So there are 13 chapters in this particular book, and chapter 1 is one story, Act 1, and chapter 2, 3, and 4 combined together is Act 2, and chapter 5 to 13 is Act 3. Okay, so what happens in these 3 stories? In these 3 stories, in chapter 1, Devi is responsible for killing 2 demons called Madhu and Kaitaba. Okay, in chapter 2, 3, and 4, she kills this terrible demon called Mahishasura, and of course Mahishasura's army, which I'm not talking about yet here. And in chapter 3, which is the third act, between 5 and 13th chapter, which is the longest act, okay, she kills mainly 2 demons called as Shumbha and Nishumbha, and of course their generals called Chanda and Munda. And once again, who told the story to whom? Let's talk about that. Okay. Let me just use my pointer if I can get it. Sorry, I can't even get that pointer. Okay. Okay. So, Suratha, Samadhi. These are the 2 wayfarers who approach this person called Sumedha Rishi. Okay. And it's all in the Markandeya Purana. On the right side, if you look at it, for example, there are shloka mantras, which are full shloka mantras. There are some half shloka mantras. Then there are khanda mantras, which is part of the shlokas. And then there is uvachas. Okay, Bhagavan Uvacha, Brahma Uvacha, Devi Uvacha, and all that stuff. All of them are also considered as mantras. And the total mantras is 700. And the total number of verses is 518. And if you remember in Gita also, depending on which book you take, it is 701 shlokas or 700 shlokas. And on the left side, if you look at it, the 3 acts, they're basically a battle, 3 different battles. Okay, 3 different battles, and the battlefield is described. How Devi kills all of them is described, and all that stuff. And interspersed between these battles there are 4 hymns to the Devi. Okay, Devi Stuti, interspersed between these ghastly narratives of bloodshed and slaughter. So that's how the quick structure of how the Devi Mahatmyam or Chandi or Durga Saptashati looks like. Now, you might have noticed some similarities, right?
Guntax, just one question. So the Saptashati is not all in one place, but it is interspersed among the entire Purana. Is that
No. The Saptashati is, if you get any book which looks like this, I don't know if you can see it. Okay, the Saptashati is within Markandeya Purana, and it is one unit of 700 mantras. Okay, and if you break it down like that, you have shlokas and mantras and uvachas and all that. Okay, like Sri Bhagavan Uvacha we say in Bhagavad Gita. that is all, like the Dev Uvacha or Brahma Uvacha is also considered as a mantra in this. Okay, and that's the tantric portion of Devi Mahatmyam, which we are not getting into it at this point of time.
What's the difference between mantra and verses?
Mantra and shlokas, shloka is like anybody can chant. But for example, one of the basic differences is that mantra, you cannot chant it unless and until you are qualified to chant it. And mantra has to be chanted in a particular way. And shloka, mantra basically means that manana trayate mantra. So you can start doing it for japa. Whereas shloka, you don't have to do it for japa.
No, I had a different question, which is, you said verses are only 518 and the mantras are 700. So
yeah. So each verse is a mantra. Okay. And for example, in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha is not called as shloka or a mantra.
Oh, I see.
Whereas here Dev Uvacha is also a mantra.
Okay. No, I was just kind of sorry. This is just, I'm nitpicking, but we 537 shloka mantras and then there are verses. Okay, fair enough. That's not important. Fair enough.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, and if you already noticed, sorry, I was talking about this. If you already noticed, there are 3 acts and there are 3 people who got killed. And, obviously there's a connection with the number 3. Okay. The number 3 could be Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, or it could be, any of the other combinations of 3 that we are aware of. But here in this case, we look at, keep, as we talk this story, think about Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in the back of your mind, and in the reverse order, Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva in the reverse order. So that's one thing. And second thing is, if you look at this, the people that who are involved in the story, the 2 wayfarers are the people who have lost their way, and their names are Suratha and Samadhi. Okay. So if you break it down, I wish I could put it in Sanskrit, but in Hindi, Devanagari script here. So Ratha is chariot. Okay. Suratha is good chariot. Okay. So the person's name itself is good chariot. That means a well-built body. Okay. Good body. And Samadhi, Madhi is mind. Samadhi is, a purified or a settled mind. So these are the 2 people. And they go to a rishi called Sumedha. Okay. Medha is intellect. And Sumedha is highly developed intellect. So think of it this way: a body and a mind go to intellect, and the intellect tells them a story. That's how you can interpret this particular thing. Okay, which is actually the real interpretations as well. So what is Act 1?
Hey, Tax, if you go back, there is one which you had on the right bottom, 4 hymns to Devi.
Yeah.
Interspersed between ghastly narratives of bloodshed and slaughter.
Correct.
So the entire 700 mantras.
Yes.
All about bloodshed and slaughter.
All about bloodshed and slaughter interspersed with Devi mantras.
Okay.
Okay. So she kills somebody and then the Devas will praise her. She kills somebody else, the Devas will praise her. She kills somebody else, Devas will praise her. And then the Devi will say, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that, and all that stuff. So that's how it is.
But the description of the killing is what these mantras are, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Thanks.
That is correct. So it's like a storybook which is written in Sanskrit, which talks about 3 different battles. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's look at this Act 1, right, which is killing of these 2 demons called Madhu and Kaitaba. So there are 2 asuras who are born from the wax of the Vishnu, who is in his deep slumber. Okay, in his slumber when he's asleep, the two demons called Madhu and Kaitaba, they come out of his earwax, and once they're born out of the earwax, they see this. They still look everywhere. It's all, nothing has been, nothing is there except what is called as the universal ocean, which is there. But they see one particular individual sitting on top of a lotus flower, and then they go to trouble him, and he's Brahma. Okay, and obviously when Brahma is troubled, Brahma has a job, and the job is to do the creation, and he's trying to understand what to do to create and all that stuff. And at this point of time, he's being troubled. So Brahma tries to wake up Vishnu. He says, Vishnu, protect me. And Vishnu obviously does not respond. Then Brahma realizes, okay, if I can't wake up Vishnu, I need to figure out a way of waking him up, because Brahma has got access to what is called as Maya. Okay, so Maya, or her Nidra Shakti, okay, that's the Nidra Shakti which has enveloped Vishnu, because of which he is not able to wake up. So Brahma, who actually, instead of going to Vishnu, goes to Devi, Nidra Shakti, or she's also referred as Tamasi, okay? And he prays to her, and that's a stuti. It's called Brahma Stuti in that. And then what does he say? He says that, Devi, I want to create the world, the universe, but these two demons are basically killing me, or trying to come to kill me, and I'm not able to do my job. Can you please let go of the Nidra on Vishnu, so that Vishnu can actually kill these people, kill these two demons? That's all the praise says. So then the Devi says, okay, I will do that. And then from Vishnu's entire body, she exits, and as soon as she exits, Vishnu wakes up. And when Vishnu wakes up, then suddenly in that entire universal waters, as what it is called, Madhu and Kaitaba see that there is somebody else with Shankha Chakra and Gadha and everything. And then they'll say, okay, Brahma, we will leave you, and we will go and figure out how we can go fight with Vishnu. And the reason why they want to fight with Vishnu is, they are just demons, and they just have this brute force, and they want to exhibit the brute force somewhere. And then they go to Vishnu and they'll say, come and fight with us. And Vishnu says, okay, I'll fight with you. And then they fight for thousands and thousands of years. And think of it as thousands and thousands of either human years or, Deva years, or whatever years that you want to take. But they will fight in thousands and thousands of years. Vishnu is tired, Madhu Kaitaba are tired. They take a break, they go back again, they fight and all that stuff. And then, Madhu Kaitaba are not killed at all for a long time. And then at that point of time, the Devi, in a beautiful form, she comes, and Madhu and Kaitaba get disturbed a little bit. And Madhu and Kaitaba get disturbed a little bit. And then what they do is, they say, okay, both of us have been fighting, Vishnu and both of us. And it's been sort of status quo, and we have not been able to, kill anybody. So I'm going to give you a boon, Vishnu. You take whatever boon that you want to take, if you want. Then, and the reason why they say that is, they have been distracted by this beautiful form of Devi, that they want to, somehow impress her. Okay, that's a reality in the story. And then Vishnu says, I'm going to take this boon from you, and the boon is, I want both of you to be killed by me. Then Madhu Kaitaba guys, basically they are conned. They're conned, and they say, okay. And then they say, okay, but wherever there is no waters, universal waters, you have to kill me. And there's a play in the Sanskrit word. So the play in the Sanskrit word basically is that the word for Thai and the word for earth is the same. So what Vishnu does is, he takes Madhu Kaitaba, puts them both on his thigh, and chops their head off. That's the act one. Okay. Now, Asuras, Madhu and Kaitaba on the right side, you might have followed what I've been trying to tell you. So when a drop of honey falls there, the drop of honey can attract a lot of insects. So Madhu and Kaitaba are symbolic of, what is called as Ahankara and Mamakara. So when there is Ahankara, the moment you have Ahankara, what happens is that different types of Mamakara comes in. And if they are operating at a very, very tamasic level, I want this, I want to do this, I want to do brute force, then there is no other way that, you can do anything else other than just self-aggrandizement. And born out of the earwax of sleeping Vishnu, Veda is a spoken word. And when there is a earwax, the earwax of sleeping Vishnu is symbolic of something blocking the ear, that one is not able to hear the spoken word, leading to what? Leading to ignorance. So the entire story is all about how this ignorance manifests itself in different forms, and then how the ignorance can be removed. And this sounds very familiar to you if you look at chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Sochyan Anvasochatvan, Pragyavadamscha Bhashase, Gatasuna Gatasumsya Nanusochanti Pandita. It's the same thing that it says. Okay. Then troubled by Brahma, who's ready to create. It's basically Sattva troubled by Rajas and Tamas, and we all have that within our own self. In a day, if you want to meditate or if you want to do something which is more of sattvic nature, you're not able to do it some days because of either rajas or tamas. So what it also indicates is that tamas is something that if you want to do something creative, you have to overcome the rajasic and tamasic forces in the right way for you to get it done. Okay. Just kind of moving on to the next one. Okay, Act 2. Now, Act 2 is killing of Mahishasura and Mahishasura's Sena. Okay, so now this is not related to Madhukaitaba story, but this is Act 2. Okay, so there's another demon, Mahishasura. His name is Mahishasura, and the word Mahisha Asura, Mahisha is half animal and half human. So here is this human, or here is this animal who exhibits half human tendencies and half animal tendencies, which is a symbolic of most of us, because we are sort of human, but sometimes we behave like animals as well. Okay. And so he takes over all the devas. And the symbolism of devas is that deva is somebody who controls, let's think of it this way, as someone who controls all the elemental forces within our own body or within the whole universe. For example, the power of sight can be all the eyes or the five sense organs that we have within our body are controlled by a devas, like what we call it. Okay. So all the devas, they go to the Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and they pray. They say that Mahishasura has taken over the entire thing, and he's using everything for his own benefit. So now, an half animal, half humanistic person, when they take over the entire thing, what they will do is they will start aggrandizing themselves. They'll be satisfying their basal human set tendencies. Sometimes they will try to control everything, and it's a very, very challenging situation, because nothing gets done other than self-aggrandizement. So here is this human being who is half animal, yet a little bit of human, and it's a little dangerous, because if it's just an animal, then they will just be instinctual. But here is this person who has this animal tendencies, yet it has this intellect to destroy everything. That's the power of Mahishasura. Okay. Now they go to Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva and pray, and so then all these devas, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, and Yama, all the other devas, all of them, they are so upset with Mahishasura that they create, through power of their energy, a radiant Devi. Okay, and so the symbolism of this Devi is that this Devi is a combination of all the energy that is required to change course within our own set of activities. And this is called Rajasic energy. And the difference between the Rajasic energy, what Mahishasura has, and the Rajasic energy, what Devi has, is that Rajasic energy of Mahishasura is half animal and half human, whereas the Rajasic energy of Devi is highly divine, sattvic energy. At the same time, it is Rajasic. That means it's a sattvic energy that can be devoted, Rajasic energy that will be devoted for good causes rather than self-aggrandizement causes. That's the symbolism. And then, of course, Devi fights Mahishasura's army. There are 16 generals, and there's a symbolism for the 16 generals. I don't have the time. I'm not going to explain that. But within those 16 generals, there are 2 generals whose names are specifically mentioned in Durga Saptashati. Okay, and they also even come in the praise when all the devas praise Devi after the killing. These names come: Durdhara and Durmukha. Durdhara, literally translated, Durdhara means irresistible. Okay, desire. Okay, so first, instead of Mahishasura sending his going himself, he sends all these generals and all that stuff, and Devi just vanquishes everybody. And one of the general is called Durdhara, which is the desire goes to fight Devi, and the Devi kills the desire. And along with the desire, the anger also goes. And all of us know desire is the mother for anger. Okay. And Durmukha. And Mukha means face. Durmukha means ugly face. So think of it as ourselves. Okay, when there is a desire that happens within us, and when that desire is obstructed for some reason, what happens to us? That's Durmukha. So Durdara and Durmukha are killed, and then Mahishasura is killed, and then there's a lot of other things which I'm not going to cover because of time. One interesting point that you should look at it is the Mahishasura keeps changing forms many times, and it's a symbolic of our own assessment of how we behave. The ego, the ahankara within ourselves, has this beautiful ability to showing itself in multiple different ways, in different forms, sometimes extremely smart, sometimes extremely dumb, sometimes it's being thinks that it's doing a lot of things for the entire world and all that stuff. But in the whole process, it's only aggrandizing itself. Devi kills that particular tendency in humans as well. Okay. And she needs that huge amount of energy and rajasic energy, and combined with sattva, Shuddha sattva, to get rid of that ahankaric, ego-based rajasic energy. We have both within us. So think of it as the act 2, we are fighting within ourselves to get rid of that egocentric desires or tendencies, or those different I would say the qualities, the negative qualities what we have. And who does it? We only are doing it. And that's how it is split into 2 forms and explained as Act 2 within Devi Mahatmya. Okay. Then Act 3.
You had something called Arshad Vargas. What is that? Say that. Did you talk about that? Sorry.
Where did I have that? Arshad Vargas.
Right column on the right.
That's 2 KLM3, right? Yeah, 2 KLM3. Yeah.
Arshad Vargas. Okay. Yeah.
That's Shadrapuja.
Arshad Vargas is 6 repose: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Okay. So there's a beautiful shloka in chapter 2 or chapter 3, I don't remember, which says, what's the Kama, what drives all our activities? It is Kama. Okay. Then if your desire is not met, what happens? It's Krodha. Okay. So then it goes on to multiple things. So I'm just not pointing out entire thing, but I'm only saying that the mother of all our activities is the desire, that irresistible desire that we have within ourselves. Whether we know it or not, it doesn't matter. Okay. When the desire is obstructed, we become angry. That's the reality of it. And that's what is called Arshad Vargas personified. There are different other Arshad Vargas also, which are personified, but I'm not talking about it here in this case.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Hey, Guntax, I have one quick question.
Yeah.
So in all of this, right, who is actually the Devi? The Devi is the Maya Shakti, or Devi is the Shakti? I mean, in the beginning you said she is also called Tamasi Devi.
Yeah.
Which means is that the veiling, the Avarana Shakti?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So in this case, see, if you look at it in the first one, Nidra Shakti Tamasi Devi, it is Brahman's Vikshepa Avarana Shakti. Okay. And then when you're able to overcome that tamasic quality within Devi, and even in Bhagavan also says in Gita, right? Mama Maya Duratyaya. So it is Bhagavan's Maya. So the point is, you have to overcome Maya. You cannot go to Bhagavan. You have to go to Maya and pray to her to overcome her.
Yeah. So it is Bhagavan, I mean, Brahman's or Bhagavan's Shakti,
correct,
which is also called Devi.
Correct. That is correct. That's how you should look at it. So you should look at it as this thing. You should look at it. Bhagavan is Akarta Abhokta, but there is a Shakti. It's like the sun and the sunlight. You cannot separate out the sunlight from the sun. Okay. But you have already 2 words, sun and sunlight. Yeah. What is sunlight? Sunlight is the Shakti of sun. Can you separate out the sunlight from sun? You cannot. But symbolically, for us to understand Devi and Shakti is this Maya and Akarta, Abhokta, Asangaha, Brahman.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Then the third, look at it from from the point number 11 onwards from here. And I know I'm overshooting my time. Let's just 4 more minutes and I'll close this. So in the last chapter, there are two other demons. Again, they take over the entire universe. They treat everything as possession. Okay, so these two demons are called Shumba and Nishumba, and they're brothers. Okay, and they want to marry Devi. And why they want to marry Devi is that they are on a they're ruling this entire world, and they think that this entire world is mine. I'm the all-powerful people, and whatever is there in this universe is mine. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to take care of everything. So one fine day, what happens is that they see that there is this beautiful looking goddess. Okay, and how do they know about this beautiful looking goddess? Is very, very interesting story in this. So they have two generals. Generals called as Chanda and Munda. Okay, and the words itself, if you look at it, the Chanda and Munda. Munda is someone who is shaved his head, and that denotes the Nivrutti Marga or the Sannyasa Marga. And Chanda is he has another type of a description, but he is the Pravrutti Marga, the person who goes towards in Swami Paramatmananda's language, port increase, lots of possessions, objects, obligations, and all those things. What he wants, the external looking path. What that is the Chanda, and the person who is able to go away from the worldly possessions and go within inside, he is Munda. Okay, so these are two generals of Shumba and Nishumba. And who are Shumba and Nishumba? It's again Ahankara and Mamakara, brothers personified. Okay, and they are on the path of Pravrutti and Nivrutti. And this is very, 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 very appropriate for us as sadhakas today. We do both. We do both the Pravrutti work and the Nivrutti work. We have Ahankara, we have Mamakara. And this, in the path of progress, spiritual progress, when these guys, Chanda and Munda, when they are going out and looking out into their kingdom, they see this beautiful Devi, and then they come back to the Devi, and then they say to the Devi, to Chanda and Munda, saying that you have all the finest jewels, you have all the finest gems in the universe. Anything, the finest in any species or any category is within you, but the finest woman, okay, is not in your possession. You have to marry her. One of you have to marry her. And they go on describing the beauty of this Devi and all that. And then Shumba and Nishumba get so excited. They'll say, go drag her by her hair, and we will make her as a possession, and we will marry her. And then they go, and Devi says, listen, I am not get married to anybody because I took a vow long back. I will marry only that person who has been able to vanquish me in a battle. And then the Chanda, the Shumba and Nishumba gets so upset, saying that why is this woman not subjugating herself to me? And then they say, go fight. Okay. Then they send a lot of people, and Devi vanquishes everybody. And one of the first generals, what they send is a person called Dhumra Lochana. Okay, Dhumra means smoke. Lochana means eyes. Okay, so they send a demon whose name is Dhumra Lochana, or faulty thinking, saying that go and bring that Devi. And Devi obviously kills him. And then this Devi is seated on a beautiful, ferocious, beautiful lion called the Simha. And the Simha is symbolism of Dharma, or the person within our own self who wants to take that path of Dharma, but is troubled by this Ahankara, Mamakara, and Chanda Munda, and Dhumra Lochana, all these demons within ourselves. He's troubled. But the Devi takes him, and she rides him to kill all of them. Okay, and then Chanda Munda, they go, and then they go to fight Devi. And this is a very, very beautiful story that I want to talk about it here. So Chanda Munda, when they go there to fight Devi, what happens is that Devi says, the beautiful Devi, who is Parvati, she creates another version of herself called as Kali, okay, a dark version of herself. And then the dark version of herself creates Chandan Munda. And that's why she's called as Chamunda as well, okay? And it's also symbolism. Kali, Kal are all symbolism of time. So there's a huge battle, and Chandan Munda, they fight over a long period of time with Kali, and then they are overcome. Both the Pravruti Marga and Nivruti Marga within ourselves, the path of acquisition and the path of going back and reflecting and going back within ourselves, they go on for a long time. And one day you overcome both of them and you go beyond them. Okay. And then Shumba sends his 8-fold armies. Okay. And Uday, you asked me this question.
Did you say, Rajesh, that Chandan Munda was created by Devi?
By whom?
By Devi?
No. Chanda Munda are generals for.
So you said something about the black face and all that. Something you mentioned. I missed that.
The Devi, okay. In this, the Devi, how was she created? Devi was the combined power of all the Devatas, correct?
Mm-hmm.
In this act, okay.
Yeah.
And she's this beautiful, resplendent Devi, okay. But then what she does is when she goes for the fight with Chandan Munda, when they come, then a form from her emerges, a dark form, okay. And the dark form is sometimes symbolized like this. You see here, this picture here. This is the Devi, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's and this is the beautiful Devi, okay. This is a beautiful Devi, but this dark form is symbolism of Kala, time, okay. And this time fights Chanda and Munda, who are the Pravrutti and Nivrutti within ourselves. So in another way, as a sadhaka progresses in the sadhana journey, in our own life as well, we are doing multiple things which are, Pravrutti Marga as well as Nivrutti Marga. We do dhyana, we study Bhagavad Gita and all this, so that's part of Nivrutti Marga. At the same time, we are involved in a lot of worldly activities, acquire things and all that. So that's Pravrutti Marga. It takes a long time to overcome both of them and transcend them. That's the symbolism here.
Understood. Okay.
Okay. Number 17. I'm sorry, I'm running too late now. Number 17.
Right.
Okay. Then Shumba sends a lot of armies. Okay. And a lot of armies are described by very beautiful Sanskrit names. Okay. And I don't know Sanskrit and all that stuff. So, forgive me, but basically they are symbolic of the different qualities what we have within ourselves. Gruna, Lajja, Bhaya, Shanka, Jugupsa, okay, then identity of Kula, caste, then pride, all these things, racial identity, all of them are demons within ourselves. That Shumba and Nishumba, again, remember, I and me are associated with all these demons, and these demons are sent to fight. And Devi obviously just kills them. And then this, Navaratri, you're aware of the 9 nights and the 9 forms of Devi. Sorry, I'm just going to the 9 forms. Okay, the 9 forms of Devi. So basically, the 9 forms of Devi, what happens is that when Shumba and Nishumba, then Shumba and Nishumba send another person called Rakta Bija. Okay, and this is a very beautiful story. Rakta Bija, literally translated as seeds of blood. Okay, and this Rakta Bija was a demon, and this demon basically has this beautiful power. Brahma would have blessed him once, saying that whenever a drop of your blood falls on the ground, a demon in power and capacity like Rakta Bija, like you yourself, will spring out that particular blood. Okay, and then so this Rakta Bija basically is sort of invincible. So if anybody is killing him or hitting him or doing anything, 1 drop of blood falls, it multiplies. So the whole idea of that Rakta Bija story is that the seed has a potential to give rise to many plants and trees. And the story indicates that, one desire what we have can give rise to so many multiple desires. And it's an endless story. Okay. And then in this story also, when the beautiful form of the Devi, right, when she's killing Rakta Bija, what happens is that she's trying to pierce him, she's trying to hit him and all that stuff. Every time a blood falls, multiple Rakta Bijas are coming. Then the Devi is perplexed. She says, how should I get rid of this guy, of this demon? And then Kali, Okay, Kali is, again, remember, Kali symbolism is time. She says, I'll work with you. We'll go together and we'll kill the demon. What will I do? What will I do is I will spread my tongue out. Look at on the right side. I'll spread my tongue out in such a way that every time you hit Rakta Bija, a drop of blood falls, I'm going to lap it up. That means over a period of time, when we do the sadhana, the desire is not likely to produce more desires for us to go away from the path. But over a period of time, when the time consumes it, the desires over a period of time will reduce. And then one fine day, Rakta Bija will be vanquished. That's the beauty of this story. Okay. And then point number 18, I just want to talk about this. So now Shumba and Nishumba, both of them, they come and they want to fight, and then Nishumba is also killed, which is the Mamakara part of is also killed. Then this pure Ahankara is remaining. The I is still remaining. It does not know. There's still a conflict in the person. Okay, that person who's done so much of sadhana and everything, who's been able to get rid of his possessions, relationships, and all that stuff, but still that Ahankara still remains, saying that that person thinks that he's still an individual. And then he sees Devi fighting him, and now this demon is very, 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 very powerful. This Ahankara is very, very, very powerful. The Shumba is very powerful. And then the Devi is taking 9 different forms, and she is fighting him in 9 different ways. And then at that point of time, what he says is this Ahankara, this Shumba says, this is unfair battle. I am just one, and you are 9 of you, and you are fighting me 1:9. How is it fair? Then the Devi laughs. Okay. Then she says, I may be looking at you may be looking at me as 9, but I'm actually 1. And she takes all the 9 different forms and merges within herself. And she says, all these were from me. I only have brought them out, but now I take them back within myself. And then she goes and kills Shumba. And basically, the Shumba is that false sense of identity that we have within ourselves, saying that we are an individual. There's a certain amount of ahankara. That takes an enormous amount of time, irrespective of pravritti marga or nivritti marga. And even if you are progressing on that particular path, it is the hardest thing that can go, and that is indicated by this battle between Shumba and Devi. And when Devi is becoming very, very, I would say, powerful with multiple Shaktis, the 9 Navadurga Shaktis, all combined together, and that takes time, and then she kills Shumba. So that's the story, and I'm going to stop here. And I know that I'm overshot the time, but any questions, comments, feedback, happy to talk about this.
So quick one, Rajesh. You mentioned at the beginning that the 3 acts are in reverse order: tamas, rajas, and sattva.
Correct.
How can you explain that in the context of these stories? Because all of them seem to be similar in terms of Devi and the asuras.
Yeah. So think of it as a sadhaka going through the path, right? Initially, the sadhaka does not even know the words of Gita or Upanishads, or the person is, involved in doing whatever that they want to do, and it's like tamas. So even the person may be doing good or whatever, but it is still tamas. You need to overcome that, and then once you overcome that, then you have this ability to do good to the world, or at the same time, sometimes good to the world, sometimes not so good to the world. That's the rajasic part of our life. And then over a longer period of time, you realize that, oh, that's also, good, bad, both are basically labels. I need to go beyond that. And then you get into the sattvic portion of it, but then that ahankara still remains within us. I am doing it. I am meditating. I am praying, or whatever, you have all those things. That one doesn't go away. The positions might go away. So that's why the progression is, you don't know to you know, but you know, but you don't, but you're not implementing it in the right way. And then but now you have moved away from all the pravritti and nivritti, and even the ahankara is also dropped. That's how it is symbolized. You're on mute.
Sorry, so Shumbha and Nishumbha, they are Ahankara and Mamakara.
Correct.
Or representative of that.
Correct.
Hey, when the Navadurgas are combined into one, is there a name for the Devi or is it just Devi?
So Mahalakshmi. So actually, it is Saraswati. Saraswati. There are names in the thing, the Brahma Stotra and all the things. You will have all that. I don't remember all the details, but I can look it up and let you know.
Thanks.
Yeah, just to add on that, in the 9 forms of Durga, the 9 Devis, the first 3 are Kali, which is the next 3 are Saraswati, and so that progression from tamas to Lakshmi, which is wealth and power and worldly sort of things, to
Correct.
Saraswati, which is knowledge, and basically take you out from the ignorance and move towards realization.
So one question, Dex, when you talked about the attributes of Chanda and Munda, so when you explain Munda, so I think you talked about only a positive attribute, right? So is that, why do you call that as a demon actually?
So it's a think about who is having that positive attribute. It's the Shumbha and Nishumba, who is Ahankara and Mamakara is having that. So there's an association from Ahankara, Mamakara to Chanda and Munda, which is Pravruti Marga and Nivruti Marga. So there's this association is, I am doing this. I am doing this. Okay. So what Devi is trying to say is, you can do whatever you want to do, but that I part has to go. For that I part to go, you have to realize that this Chanda and Munda, your generals, they could be helping you, but you have to overcome that. You have to go beyond that.
Basically going beyond the Sattvic also, right? I mean,
yes, that is correct. That's correct.
Great, good one. So,
yeah, you explained it very good, Rajesh. Yeah, I relished it.
Thank you.
And if I'm right, that Navashaktis put together is called as Shandi Devi.
No. She's called. I think she's called Saraswati. Chandi is.
Shandi is the one who takes that blood of what do you say,
Correct.
as you said,
Correct.
that all the. So she immediately calls Shandi. So the Devi, because she can only drink the blood.
Correct.
So she immediately calls Shandi, you come.
Correct.
So she takes that form of Shandi. Then because that demand could not be killed at all.
Yes.
Because every blood of him, it gives birth to a
new
demon again.
Yeah.
So Shandi, with her long tongue, she sucks the blood.
Correct.
So she drinks the blood.
Correct.
That is why he could be killed. So
Correct.
I think that
Absolutely.
it ends with that's why everything that Shandi Homam and all, everything on the final day of Navaratri.
Yeah.
If I'm right.
Beautiful.
Good, but very good explanation. I enjoyed. Yeah. Nice.
Okay. Thank you so much. If there are no
Very
more
helpful.
questions.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Over to you, Subbu.
Yeah. Anybody wants to go, or you can hear me, right? Because my headphone is not working, so you just need to.
Yeah, we can.
You
Can hear you. You're fine.
One second. Just 1 second. You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. I just hope I could finish because I made some notes. Let me try and see if that I can do justice to it. At the same time, try and complete it in the given time. Yeah. So this chapter is Rajavidya Rajaguhya, the chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. So I have broken this chapter into basically 7 sections, right? So we will go directly to the sections. So the first section is about the royal secret. Now, when Krishna is actually talking to Arjuna on this, I think, he gives superlative, commentary with respect to this particular, chapter and the knowledge that he's going to share. So he says, Idam tute guhyatamam. So I'm going to tell you a greatest secret, not an ordinary secret, but a greatest secret through which you can actually attain jnanam and vijnanam, jnana vijnana sahitam. So by this knowledge, you will actually get jnanam and vijnanam, which is basically the theoretical knowledge and the practical knowledge. And by doing so, what are you going to be benefiting from? Mokshasya ashubhat, right? There will not be any inauspicious thing that happens to you in life. And why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because your anusaya way. Now, this is a very important part because it comes in the first line. It says, I'm telling you this because you're anusaya way, which means that you're free from jealousy. Now, why do we say that, if you see the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I think he speaks to him as a Sakha, he speaks to him as a Sishya. But here he's saying, I'm telling you because you're anusaya way, okay? You're not jealous. This forms the foundation because, you're only jealous of a person only when you start comparing yourself with other people, right? You're jealous of something because somebody has greater position, somebody has more money, somebody is more taller, somebody is, more beautiful, somebody is, etc., etc. So the comparison comes and the jealousy comes because of comparison. Whereas here we are talking about samatvam, which is basically samatva buddhi, which is the foundation of the Gita for both karma, bhakti, and jnana yoga. Okay, so he's telling this knowledge to him because he is anasuyave. He is free from jealousy. Okay. And what is this knowledge he's sharing? He's sharing basically the second verse is a wonderful shloka. He says, Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, Pavitram, Midam Uttamam. Again, if you see, he says this is sovereign knowledge. Rajavidya, this is the greatest of knowledge. And it is also Rajaguhyam, which is the greatest of secrets. Okay. And it is Pavitram, Idam Uttamam. Pavitram is what? Pure. And Uttamam is what? Is the highest purifier. Okay. Now, what is this knowledge that we're talking about, which is the highest purifier? The knowledge is actually Brahma Jnana. Okay, that is of Atma Jnana, right? And he says this is Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam. Pratyakshaavagamam means it can be directly realized. Okay, you do not need any external help for this, right? Don't worry about whether you get a guru or don't guru, etc., or you are able to realize it. You will be able to do it yourself, right? Dharmyam. Why it is Dharmyam? It is the source of Dharma, and at the same time, it is a knowledge which will put you on the right path if you understand it. And what it is, Susukam. Susukam is very easy to understand. And Kartum Avyayam is basically that which is imperishable. Why do you say imperishable? There are two ways to look at it. One way is saying that this is about the Atma Jnana. So Atma is imperishable, therefore the knowledge of the Atma is imperishable. That is one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that once you learn this knowledge and you realize this, you will never forget it. Okay, that is why it is imperishable. So this shloka, he says, I'm going to tell you a royal secret, and that royal secret is something that is Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, Pavitram Vidam Uttamam, Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam, Susukam Kartum Avyayam. Okay, right. Now, he also says in verse number 3 that who is the person who will not be able to benefit from this knowledge? He says the person who is devoid of faith. Jiske paas shraddha nahi hai, he will not be able to understand this knowledge. Okay, and therefore, because he's not being able to understand this knowledge, he will be going through the cycle of birth and death, and there is no immortality for him. So therefore, for immortality to happen, you need to have Shraddha. And what is the definition of Shraddha? I've taken this definition from Viveka Chudamani because nobody other than Adi Shankaracharya can give us a wonderful definition of Shraddha. He says in Viveka Chudamani, verse number 25, he says, Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhya Vadharanam. Okay, he says, Shraddha is that which you have a firm acceptance of the Shastras and what the Guru says. Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya. So whatever is there in the Shastra, you accept. Whatever the Guru tells you, you accept. And that is Shraddha. And what will the Shraddha do? The Shraddha will actually help you realize the, Brahman, okay, of which the reality is perceived. Now, how do I gain Shraddha? I had shared this ABCDE formula, which is a nice way to actually understand how Shraddha can be created in oneself. So A stands for association, which is what Satsanga and Mahatsanga. So you are in the company of the realized souls, and by associating yourself with them, you are able to develop Shraddha. Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan mukti. So you can actually become a jivan mukta just by association with Satsangas and Mahatsanga. One will take you to the other. The second is B, which is actually called, you can generate Shraddha by reading the books. What books? The scriptures. So if you start taking interest in the scriptures, which is something that we are all doing, we are actually developing Shraddha in what is being said. What is C? C is chanting. That is, you can take the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Gayatri Mahamantra, whatever it is. You chant, and as you chant, you get purified. And as you get purified, you're actually improving Shraddha. What is D? D is diet. I mean, refrain from meat eating and tamasic foods and rajasic foods and all that, etc., and go into sattva and shuddha sattva. Even food is classified as shuddha sattva, and if you were to go into shuddha sattva also, you will be able to help your mind set a base from which you can actually develop Shraddha. And what is E? E is engagement. Engagement is service that you do in terms of karma, that you do selfless service, like being a part of any organization, helping the needy, etc., etc., etc. So this is how you can gain Shraddha. And what is the benefit of Shraddha? Shraddhavan bhajate jnanam. Okay. So what is the benefit of Shraddha? Shraddha will lead you to the knowledge, right? And what knowledge? Here we are talking about Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, but actually, if you look at the Vedantic way of actually understanding and gaining knowledge, there are 3 steps. One is Shastra Pramana. Shastra Pramana, somebody is telling something, you don't accept it as it is. So what you do is you actually go to the Shastras and you refer and say, hey, okay, this is what the Shastra is saying. So keep the Shastra as the base, and Shastra Pramana, which is basically understanding what the Shastras are saying. The second is Tarka Vachana. Tarka Vachana is debate. That is, whatever is being said, now you try to, understand and don't accept it if you're not feeling comfortable with it. Try to understand reason, do smarnam, nidhanam, mananam, nididhasanam, etc., etc., and try to understand. When you do Shastra Pramana Tarka Vachana, you attain Jnanam, the first part of Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. Okay? Right? But when you actually put it to self-experience, which is Swanubhava, which is basically when you start understanding and putting this to practice, is when the Vijnanam comes into picture, and that is when realization happens. So the 3 steps, Shastra Pramana, Tarka Vandana, Vachana, and Swanubhava, the first 2 will help you to understand the knowledge properly, but the next one will help you to take realization by actually putting this to practice. And by doing so, what happens? 1, Bhakti and Jnana comes into place because it is the greatest purifier. So because it is the greatest purifier, it is actually removing all the bija of impurities in the heart, which is the, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsalya. And Shastra Pramana, this one. And what is it? It is also destroying the stockpile of, Bhakti and Jnana. What does it do? It destroys the stockpiles. But just because you are doing the destruction of stockpile of sins and bija, impurities, it doesn't mean that you will not get it again, but that you will stop it from, committing more sins and more creating more impurities by interacting with Prakriti only when you're rooted in the self and rooted in Jnana. So this is the first 3 lectures, slokas of the Royal Secret. Actually, point number 4 and sloka number 4 and sloka 5 are actually very interesting, because it tries to bring the Advaitic, philosophy here. Okay. So he says 5 things here in the 2 slokas. Okay. The first thing he says is Maya Tatamidam Sarvam Jagat Avyakta Murtina. Maya Tatamidam Sarvam is I permeate everything. Jagat Avyakta Murtina. Avyakta Murtina is unmanifest form. So I am there in everything, but in an unmanifested way. Okay, that is first thing. So in a snake and rope example, how do you read this? The snake is there because of the rope, and the rope is completely, the rope completely permeates the entire snake. So the snake is there, but the rope permeates it completely. Okay, this is the first thing that he says. Second thing he says is Mastani Sarva Bhutani. In me alone, everything exists. Does the snake exist in the rope? Yeah, it does. Because if you see a snake, it is actually existing in the rope. If the rope was not there, there is no question of the snake. So this is the second thing. Mastani Sarva Bhutani. The third part is Na Chaham Tesha Avyastitaha. He says, I do not exist in them. Why? Because if you're seeing a rope, if you're seeing a snake, then the rope was not there in the first place. So if you see a snake, so I don't exist in them. So you're seeing only a snake, you're not seeing the rope, right? But the 4th point which he's making, which is coming in shloka number 5, the first line, he says, Nacha Mastani Bhutani. Things don't exist in me. Now, this is contradictory to what he has said in point number 3, where he says, everything exists in him, point number 2. And now he says, nothing exists in me. Why? Because if you take the Advaitic philosophy, that only Brahman exists, okay, then the snake does not exist, right? So this is what is communicated here in the, the shloka number 4 and 5. And then he says very nicely, he says, Pashyame Yoga Aishwaryam. He says, this is the power of my Maya. Okay. Now, this is how difficult it is and how complex he has made it. But at the same time, going forward, he's giving us some simple resolutions as to how we can actually break away from this cycle, right? So this is the royal secret, which is the first section of the chapter 9. The second section is about excellence of Brahman. So here, basically, he's talking about that he is the creator, he is the sustainer, he is the dissolution of the universe, right? So he says, I'm like Akasha. Verse number 6, he says, I'm like Akasha. Why is it I'm like Akasha? I am completely expansive. Okay, I can undividedly expand into infinity. I cover everything, I permeate everything, right? So this is something like the Chidakasha, where all the gross and subtle activities, everything takes place, right? And then the point he's making is Brahman is everywhere and Brahman is in everything. There is only one that is there. The whole world is nothing but a monocosmic play, which is Brahma Okate. Okay, there is only that song by Annamachari was what came to my mind, so I wrote it here. Okay. The other thing that he says in verse number 6 is, shloka number 6 is, he says, while I permeate everything, I am there in everything and I am everything, right? It does not cause any modification or mutation in me. Okay. So it is something like what you can, and he says it extends to infinity, right? So it is like this. So you imagine the Akasha, the ether, etc. Though it engages the 4 elements, okay, comprises of the other men, actually the Vayu, etc. came from the Akasha. Though all this happened, it did not alter the modificate or mutate the Akasha, right? And similarly, if you see the Isha Upanishad, the Shanti Mantra, Om Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Shishyate. So even if you take, something out of the finite, out of the infinite remains the infinite because it is the infinite, okay? And then he says in shloka number 7, while he says shloka number 6 is all about creation and sustenance, he says shloka number 7, he talks about dissolution, right? So what is he saying? He says at the end of every kalpa, okay, it goes into pralaya, and when the whole thing comes up, the whole prakriti rises up again, projected from me. Okay, so he's not only responsible for creation and sustenance, but he's also responsible for dissolution. Okay, so how do you think this in the Advaita philosophy? Is that you think the Lord is a dreamer and the world as a dream. Now, if you were to just analyze it a little bit more and put shloka number 4 and 5 there, okay, you will probably be able to relate to this much better. And he says something which is very, very strong. He says they are helplessly, going through the cycle of birth and death, which means basically that the jiva is helpless in this entire journey. He has to do this. I mean, he has to go through this. There is no other choice. Okay. And as the kalpa goes, as he gets into one kalpa after the other, the jivas helplessly go from this cycle of birth and this one, and they keep getting projected every now and then. So the entire controller is actually the Ishvara and not the jiva. Okay, right? And how do I, if I think the world is a dream and the Lord is a dreamer, then how do I get out of this? You have to gain the wisdom. Now we have gained some wisdom because we have tried to understand what jnanam is, but jnanam vijnana sahitam. So you need to also experience it. And that is how we will see how the shlokas come forward to tell us how we can put this in practice. So again, going back, I think he said 2-3 things. So one is he said, I have permeated everything. Then he has said that basically, everything emanates from me. Okay. Then he says the actions, whatever action I'm doing for creation, sustenance, and dissolution, do not bind me. Okay. Right. This is, and what is he? He is the eternal witness. Just like we saw that, in the Akasha, if there is rain, the Akasha doesn't get wet. Okay. If there is fire in the forest fire, it doesn't, get affected by heat. Okay, what is it doing? It is doing an eternal witness. It is everywhere, but it is an eternal witness. It does not get impacted, nor it is getting mutated. Okay, nor do the actions bind me. Okay, so neither it is getting mutated, nor is it getting impacted by the actions that are taking. What happens? He says, by my proximity, by the nature of this very birth, everything comes into action, right? So it is like a magnet and a iron, which is needle, which is there. So in the presence of the iron needle, the magnet, the iron starts to move. Okay, that is how Brahman is. That in the presence of Brahman, he can make a insentient, a sentient being. Okay, so everything starts to get into action just because of Brahman's presence. Now the question is, if you just pause here, till shloka number 10, and then try and understand, hey, why is, Brahman talking so much about himself, right? I think the answer is that is coming in the next few shlokas, where he's trying to, tell Arjuna what bhakti is. Okay. Now, how do you develop bhakti in a person? How do you start to love a person? You start to love a person only when you are able to relate to the person with respect to his qualities, the virtues, and the glories. When you know that, hey, this guy is like, amazing. then you first start to, show some respect. Then you show some interest, you show some respect, and then you start, understanding him, and then you start to love him. Okay. Now, this entire 5 shlokas where he speaks about creation, sustenance, dissolution, he's giving the glorifying aspect of Brahman. Okay. So that Arjuna can then take a look, and suddenly Arjuna realizes in the battlefield, the person I'm talking to me is not just my suhrit, okay, not just my friend, he's something beyond this, right? So that is why Krishna is talking about the first 5 shlokas. After giving the Advaitic philosophy of the Rajaguhyam, he starts to, basically speak about this, talking about the excellence of Brahman so that he can develop devotion. Now come to the third section, which is the ways of the ignorant and devoted. So he just, very quickly, I will tell you, he says, avajananti. He doesn't say na jananti. Na jananti means the person who doesn't know. He says, people who are ignorant, okay? He doesn't say people who are ignorant. He says people who are avajananti. Avajananti is the people who mock. They not only don't understand what is being, what Brahman is, okay? They think that, Lord has come here, in a form, human form. So what is he saying? He is the creator of everything. He is everything. He is all in all. He doesn't get mutated when creation takes place. Okay. And then he says he's not bound by the karma. Now in verse number 11, he says, I am not also bound by the form. Okay. So 4 things he has said so far, right? So he's not now just bound by the form also. Now, people who are fools, he says, ma muda, he says, avajananti. Avajananti is somebody who actually mocks at him. Okay. They mock at him. He doesn't say they're ignorant. They can actually learn this knowledge. But why do they mock at them? Because they're so caught up with the body pleasures and the sense pleasures, right? And that comes in the next shloka. Mogasha, moga karmano, moga jnana. So there are 3 times in the shloka, moga is actually emphasized. Moga means waste, useless, okay? Asha is what? Hopes. So useless hopes, okay? Moga karmano. Karmano is what? Action. Moga karmano means useless actions. Moga jnana. Moga jnana means what? Useless knowledge. What is all which is useless? That which is not related to God. Anything that you do which is not spent in terms of understanding God, Brahman, or any activity with respect to God is termed as useless here. Okay. And they are basically driven by this because of the Mohini Prakriti, which is the delusive nature which makes them believe that sense pleasure and bodily existence is the be all and end all of life. Okay. And who are these people? The people who are, Rakshasas and Asura Gunas, which is basically, Rakshasa Guna is somebody who is more selfish, dominated by Rajas, and Asuras are those who are dominated by Tamas and who revel in sense pleasure. So these people are the ignorant people, and they do not have a chance towards immortality because they end up mocking me and they do not take belief in the scriptures. So far we have covered, still third section. Now he talks about who are the people who therefore, show a love and respect and, are devoted to him. He says the Mahatmas, right? So verse number 13, I think verse number 13, occupies a very important spot in, Bhagavad Gita, because it is the center sloka of, 701 sloka. So this is the 350th sloka. And this chapter is actually the center of Bhagavad Gita. So it is obviously the Rajaguhya, sometimes we say that, the best and the secretest thing, we basically keep it in the, center. We keep somewhere in the middle. So this is exactly there in the middle to explain, everything that is required to be known. Okay. So he says, who are the people who are devoted? The Mahatmas, and they worship me with, there are some 2-3 qualities here, right? So they worship me with single mind. Bhajantya Anya Manasa. Anya Manasa is what? Mind resting in the self, not thinking about anything else. Okay. And what do they know about me? They know 2 things. That I am immutable, I am imperishable, I am, eternal. And what is the second thing they know? They know that I am the source of all beings. What is it? Prajnanam Brahma. What is the source of all beings? Brahman is what? Prajnanam Brahma. We have read this in Rigveda, Aitharya option, Manisha Panchakam, verse number 1, where the Mahavakya is Prajnanam Brahma, which is consciousness is Brahman. I think we need to know what is conscience, what is conscious, conscience, and consciousness. Conscious is the first 2 kosas, Annamaya kosa and Pranamaya kosa. Conscience is, your, Manomaya kosa and Vijnanamaya kosa. And consciousness, because of which everything happens, is basically your, Anandamaya kosa. Right? So here, what he's trying to say is that, these people worship me with single mind, and they know that I'm imperishable, and they know I'm the source of all being. So I'm there, and everything is something that they already know. And this is nothing but Deva Prakriti, which is, displayed through Sattva Guna. So we spoke about Mohini Prakriti, which displays the Rajasic Guna and the Tamasic Guna. So here he says, these are Sattvic people, they are Daiva Prakriti. Okay. And how are they known? They are known through self-control, love, and love for human beings, and they actually have noble traits. And how do they worship me? Satatam kirtyanto mam yatan dridavratah. Okay. Satatam kirtanam, always glorifying me. They do not stop from doing this activity. They continuously glorify me. Okay. They striving firm in vows. They take dridavrita. Dridavrita is somebody who is, extremely committed. Okay. Prostrate before me. Okay. Somebody who doesn't have any ego, but who's ready to surrender to me. They worship me. And, and that worship is steadfast. Steadfast is, because you're engaging in sadhana, you're engaging in so many activities, which is all pertaining to God. Okay. You become more and more steadfast in your, spiritual progress. Now, Satya Sai Baba, Bhagwan Satya Sai Baba used to say that, sadhana, he would say, is very important. Do not give up sadhana. And he would say, sadhana, 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 sadhana. He would break it up into two and say, this is your true wealth. This is your dhana. Okay. Worship the Lord, and he will take care of you. And it is coming in the verse number 22. Ananyashante entomam. He says, sadhana is very important. Do not give it up. Never, if you cannot run, walk. In spirituality, when it comes to sadhana, when you cannot run, you walk. If you cannot walk, you crawl. If you cannot crawl, inch forward. Okay, but do not stop. Okay, never stop efforts in actually glorifying the Lord and worshipping the Lord, and prostrating and surrendering to the Lord. And then in verse number 15, he says, you see the Jnana Yajnana. There are two words here, Jnana Yajnana. And then he says, Vishvato Mukam in the end. Okay, what is Jnana Yajna? Jnana Yajna is nothing but understanding the Jnana. Okay, and Yajna is what? Sacrifice. What is the knowledge, Jnana, that you are supposed to understand in this entire chapter so far? Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jiva, Jivan Brahma are the same. Okay. Right? Jiva and the Brahman, this is the consciousness, Pragyana and Brahma. You need to understand this concept. What is Yajna? Yajna is being rooted in this thought, right? Knowing that Brahma Satyam Jagamithya, Jivo Brahma Ivan Aparaha. Being rooted in this thought is the Yajna that you are performing. So this is one option. Ekatvena. Ekatvena are the people who are who follow the philosophy of Advaita. Okay? Ekatvena, that is, they believe that there is only one. Prakritena. Prakritvena is basically the one who thinks there are two, the Dvaita philosophy. And then Bahuda Vishvato Mukam. Bahuda Vishvato Mukam. Vishvato Mukam, what are we talking about? Multi-faced. That is a person who thinks it is Vishishtadaiva. Whatever be the maturity of your spiritual mind, he says, whatever you do, but you do it with, worship, I accept. Right? So, that is why sadhana of any type and any sort is acceptable to the Lord. So this is the middle section of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9.13 to 9.15. Okay, now I will quickly go to the fourth section, which is basically, it says Ishvara is everything, right? Now I have a very interesting note to say here, which says that, Professor VK in his book actually says that those who find Vishnu Sahasranam very complicated and very time consuming to do, basically saying that there are, 1,000 shlokas, it takes me 15-20 minutes, I cannot do it, etc. He says, do this and combine it with Sri Rama Rama Rama. I think because here, Vishwara is saying that he's everything, 9.16 to 9.19, and Sri Rama Rama Rameti is equivalent to Vishnu Sahasranam as per Professor VK. Okay. Now, what is he saying here? This is something that we've already seen before in, the 4th chapter 24, where we say Brahmarpanam, Brahmavik, Brahmagno, Brahmana. Whatever, he's the Kartu, he's the Yajna, he's the Swada, he's the herb, he's the mantra, he's the clarified vata, he's the fire, he's the oblation, he's everything. Okay. Then he says, I am the father, mother, grandfather. So even in terms of relations, he says, I'm everything. I'm your father also. Who's your mother? I'm also your mother. Who's my grandfather? I'm also your grandfather. He's everything. Okay. I am also the knowable, because everything has to be seen in the God's perspective. And I'm the purifier. He's already said, if you understand me, you understand Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana, you are actually, trying to understand me, and therefore it is the greatest purifier. Pavitram Midam Uttamam. Right. And then he says, I am Om. What is Om? Om is A-U-N-M, Akara, Ukara, Makara, which is the combination of everything, and it is called the Nada Brahman. And he's also saying that on the Vedas, he's actually the Rig Veda, Sama Veda, and Yajur Veda, right? So one important part is that, Om chanting is, something that is, I've been reading about it and I'm also been practicing it, but I thought I'll share it that, it is something that, one can practice because, that chanting will definitely evolve your spiritual progress even better. Yeah. Coming to the, it is not over. He still goes on to, exemplify that he's everything. I am the goal. Now, this I will take reference to what we discussed in, last week's lecture, where we said, there are 3 goals for humans. Okay, they want to live more, immortal. They want to know more, wisdom, knowledge, and they want to be happy, which is ananda, which is nothing but what? All these, or any goal in life is nothing but a combination or a modification of these 3. And what are these 3? We know it is Satchit Ananda, right? So, which is the life, light, and love. And hence, therefore, God is the direct and indirect goal for everything in life, right? He's a supporter, he is the witness, he is the abode, he is the shelter, he is Suhrit. Bhoktaram Yigya Tapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Suhrit. He says, I am your well-wisher. Okay, I am not I'm going to be residing in the hearts of the good and the bad. Why he says good and bad, I will tell you later, because again, he tells in the end that, anybody can redeem themselves. And, therefore he says, not to worry. Okay. And then he says, I'm the origin, dissolution, foundation, and the treasure house. I am the seed imperishable, right? In the next verse, he says, I am Sat and Asat. I am the heat, I am the rain, I am the immortality, I am the death. He says, I am both pairs of opposites, immortality also, death also, right? And he says, I am Sat also, I am Asat also. I am the manifested also, I am the non-manifested also. What is the manifest? When, in his manifested state, he is the being, and in the unmanifested state, he is actually the non-being, right? And he basically says he is also everything. He is the Nimitta Karanam and also Upadana Karanam. What is Nimitta Karanam? The intelligence behind the creation, and he is also the material cause, which is the Upada Karanam. And you can refer to basically the spider example, which we have spoken about, which is also there in Mundaka Upanishad. Okay. The 5th section is basically man gets what he seeks. This is very simple, Yad Bhavam Tad Bhavati, right? So he says, if you pray to the Devas, you go to the Devas. But the problem there is only one thing. That is, it is short-lived. That is, so long as there is money in the account, you can enjoy a vacation. So similarly, as long as there is Papa credit there, you can go to the Devas, go to the heavens, and then once it is over, you come back. Okay. So it is not permanent, it is impermanent. Okay. But then what he says is, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Yajana Paryupasade, Tesham Nityabhyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyam. There are 2 things. Ananya Bhakti is something that we have seen that he's emphasized everywhere. Okay. Think of me, worship me, think of no other. Ananya Bhakti, not Anya Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti. Right? And then he says, I will provide Yogakshemam Vahamyam. Kshemam is what? I will provide whatever you want. What is Vahamyam? And I will also protect whatever I have given. Right? So he will take care of not only your spiritual requirements, but also your material requirements, right? Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam. I have seen a lot of people I have interacted with, they swear by the sloka and they say it by experience that because I'm dedicated to Krishna, because I'm dedicated to this, etc., I have seen no problems in life because all my needs are taken care of and I don't have to worry. Okay. And if you see what bhakti is being spoken about here, right? What bhakti is being spoken about is that if you go to 7.16 in the 7th chapter, he talks about Artharthi, Jigyasu, and Jnani. This is the Jnani Bhakta. Why Jnani Bhakta? Because Jnani Bhakta doesn't see it as a transaction. See, Artharthi and Jigyasu are doing it for a certain reason, but Jnani does it because of the pure love of the God. And who are these people? Prahalada, Meera, Kabir, Das, Jnaneshwar, Purandaras, etc. And he says, this is the most I like because this is Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. They are single-pointedly looking at me. And Nitya Yukta. Nitya Yukta is calling me, thinking of me all the time. Right? So Paryupasate is basically worshipping the Lord with complete surrender. Basically, and surrender cannot be like, I surrendered on Monday, again I will surrender in 1 month later because, in between I thought it is, I took responsibility for certain things which I do. I have done certain things which is wrong, so Swami has done or God has done. So that is not surrender. Surrender is like completely giving into, everything. So you will see this quality coming up again in the next verse where he says, man gets what he seeks. So he says, there are people who worship the lower deities also. When they worship the lower deities, they go to the lower deities, right? If they go to the Devas, if they worship the Devas, they go to the Devas. If they worship the Pitrus, they go to the Pitrus. If they worship the Bhutas, they go to the Bhutas. Bhutas are ghosts and goblins, right? He says, but this is not the right way. Okay, he says that. And why does he say it is not the right way? Because if you go to the minor gods and, you know, the devas and other people, etc., they will also be able to give. Whatever they give also is because of me. But I would not recommend that. Why is he saying not recommend that? Because what will happen is by giving them whatever you're asking, by giving you whatever you're asking, they are actually giving you impermanent things and making you more entangled in samsara, and therefore you never come out of the wheel of birth and death. So for getting liberation, he says, come directly to me, because then you will merge directly with me. So this is the essence of these 3 slokas in 922. Then he says very clearly there are 3 slokas, the 9 more slokas. I'll finish off in 5 minutes. Okay. Then he says worship of Ishvara is the easiest. What is this? Patram palam pushpam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. That is, even if you can offer me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, a water, okay, I accept it if it is pure in heart. This is all he says. He says, itna to kar lo, to koi problem nahi hai, then, I will take care of your requirements. Right? One interpretation I read, which I thought I will share here, is that, patram palam pusham, one is you can look at it as a leaf, a flower, but what is that you need to offer is you need to offer yourself to the Lord. And if you look at it from that perspective, the leaf becomes the body, the flower becomes the heart. Free of all this, raga dvesha, there is, kama krodha lobha moha mada matsarya. And the fruit is what? The fruit of our actions. Whatever the, the fruit of actions you dedicate to the Lord. And what is it? The tears of Ananda. What is water? You